What if the most powerful defense against false accusations wasn't hiring expensive lawyers or launching social media campaigns, but something far more ancient and effective? Imagine facing your worst enemies, people spreading lies about you, destroying your reputation, threatening your very existence, and having access to a courtroom where the judge is absolutely incorruptible and knows every hidden truth. Right now, someone somewhere is being falsely accused, their character assassinated by people who know exactly what they're doing. But 3,000 years ago, King David discovered a legal strategy so revolutionary that it doesn't just clear your name. It completely destroys those who try to destroy you. Today, you're about to learn not only sophisticated English legal vocabulary that will make you sound like a native speaker, but you'll discover the ultimate defense system that has protected innocent people for millennia. David opens Psalm 7 with the desperation of someone whose back is against the wall. I come to you for protection. O Lord my God, save me from my persecutors, rescue me. The phrase I come to you implies deliberate movement towards safety, like running to a fortress during an attack. The word protection comes from Latin, meaning to cover in front. It's like having a shield that blocks incoming attacks. When David calls God my God, he's claiming a personal relationship, not just acknowledging a distant deity. The word persecutors is stronger than just enemies. These are people who systematically hunt and harass their target. In English, we use persecute for sustained, deliberate campaigns of harassment, like religious persecution or workplace harassment. The escalation from save me to rescue me shows increasing urgency. Saving implies general help, but rescuing suggests immediate intervention in a life-threatening situation. David's fear becomes vivid with animal imagery. If you don't, they will maul me like a lion, tearing me to pieces with no one to rescue me. The word maul specifically describes how large predators attack, not just bite, but savage, violent assault that tears flesh. When we say someone was mauled, we mean they were brutally attacked and severely injured. Lions don't just kill cleanly, they tear their prey apart while it's still alive. The phrase tearing me to pieces emphasizes complete destruction, not just defeat, but total annihilation. The final phrase, with no one to rescue me, adds desperate loneliness to the terror. David isn't just afraid of death, he's terrified of dying alone and helpless while his enemies celebrate. This imagery teaches us that sometimes our enemies don't just want to win, they want to completely destroy us and humiliate us in the process. Now David makes a bold legal move. He calls for divine investigation. O Lord my God, if I have done wrong or am guilty of injustice, if I have betrayed a friend or plundered my enemy without cause, then let my enemies capture me. This is what lawyers call conditional language. David is making an if-then statement. The word injustice means unfair treatment or violation of rights. When someone commits injustice, they abuse their power or act unfairly toward others. Betrayed a friend refers to breaking trust with someone who relied on you. It's one of the worst moral failures because it violates intimate confidence. The word plundered means to steal through violence or force, like pirates plundering ships. The phrase without cause means without good reason. David admits that sometimes there might be justification for conflict, but he's claiming innocence of unprovoked aggression. David's self-imposed punishment is shocking. Let them trample me into the ground and drag my honor in the dust. The word trample means to step heavily on something, crushing it underfoot like walking on flowers or grass. When armies trample their enemies, they literally walk over their fallen bodies. The phrase into the ground suggests being pressed down until you're buried or flattened completely. But notice David mentions his honor. This isn't just about physical survival, but about reputation and dignity. When something is dragged in the dust, it's completely humiliated and degraded. In ancient cultures, honor was sometimes more important than life itself. David is essentially saying, if I'm guilty, then let me lose everything, my life, my reputation, my dignity. But if I'm innocent, then God must defend me. Suddenly, David's tone shifts to commanding. Arise, O Lord, in anger. Stand up against the fury of my enemies. Wake up, my God, and bring justice. The word arise is a call to action. When someone arises, they get up from rest to take action. David is calling God to get involved actively. The phrase in anger doesn't mean God loses control, but that God's righteous anger motivates action against injustice. Stand up against means to actively oppose and resist. It's confrontational language. When David says wake up, he's not suggesting God was literally sleeping, but using human language to call for immediate divine intervention. The word fury describes intense, passionate anger. When someone acts with fury, they're driven by overwhelming righteous indignation. David wants God to match his enemy's intensity with divine power. David envisions a cosmic courtroom. Gather the nations before you. Rule over them from on high. The Lord judges the nations. The word gather suggests a formal assembly, like gathering witnesses for a trial. When nations are gathered, it implies a massive international tribunal. The phrase rule over them from on high positions God as the supreme judge sitting above all earthly authorities. The word judges here carries legal weight, not just forming opinions, but making official verdicts with consequences. In English legal systems, judges don't just give advice. They render binding decisions that must be obeyed. David is appealing to the highest possible court with the most powerful possible judge. David makes his formal plea, declare me righteous, O Lord, for I am innocent, O Most High. In legal language, to declare someone something means to make an official pronouncement. When a judge declares a verdict, it becomes legal reality. The word righteous means morally correct and legally justified. It's not just being good, but being completely in the right. David's claim, I am innocent, is a direct statement of legal innocence. He's not guilty of the charges against him. The title Most High emphasizes God's supreme authority. There's no higher court of appeal than God's judgment. David calls for comprehensive justice, end the evil of those who are wicked, and defend the righteous. For you look deep within the mind and heart, O righteous God. The phrase end the evil calls for complete termination of wrongdoing, not just punishment, but stopping evil actions entirely. When we end something, we bring it to a complete conclusion. The word defend means to protect and support. David wants God to actively champion innocent people. The beautiful phrase you look deep within the mind and heart describes God's ability to see hidden motivations and secret thoughts. In English, when we say someone looks deep within, we mean they examine not just surface appearances, but inner reality. Human judges can only see external evidence, but God sees the complete truth. David declares his confidence in divine protection. God is my shield, saving those whose hearts are true and right. The metaphor of God as a shield presents divine protection as active defense. Shields don't just cover you, they block incoming attacks. The phrase, saving those whose hearts are true and right, identifies who receives this protection. A true heart is honest and authentic, while a right heart is morally correct. In English, we distinguish between knowing the truth and living truthfully. David is talking about people who not only know what's right, but actually live that way. David describes God's judicial nature. God is an honest judge. He is angry with the wicked every day. An honest judge is incorruptible, impossible to bribe, intimidate, or deceive. In human courts, we worry about corrupt judges, but God's honesty is absolute. The phrase angry with the wicked every day shows that God's opposition to evil is constant, not occasional. When someone is angry every day, it means their anger is persistent and reliable, not emotional or unpredictable. David warns of divine consequences. If a person does not repent, God will sharpen his sword. He will bend and string his bow. The word repent means to genuinely change your mind and behavior, not just feeling sorry, but actually turning away from wrong actions. The imagery of sharpening a sword suggests preparation for battle. When you sharpen a weapon, you make it more effective and deadly. Bend and string his bow describes preparing for archery. In ancient warfare, archers had to bend their bows and attach the string before they could shoot. This verse teaches that God gives people time to change, but there are consequences for persistent rebellion. The military imagery intensifies. He will prepare his deadly weapons and shoot his flaming arrows. The word prepare suggests deliberate, careful planning, not impulsive action but strategic response. Deadly weapons emphasizes the seriousness of divine judgment. These aren't warning shots but lethal force. Flaming arrows were ancient weapons designed to set targets on fire. They caused not just injury but destruction of property. This imagery shows that God's judgment is both precise and devastating. David uses pregnancy metaphors to describe evil. The wicked conceive evil. They are pregnant with trouble and give birth to lies. This extended metaphor compares evil planning to human reproduction. When someone conceives an idea, they form it in their mind like conceiving a child. Being pregnant with trouble means carrying destructive plans that will eventually emerge. The phrase "give birth to lies" suggests that deception is the natural result of evil thinking. In English, we use birth metaphors for bringing ideas into reality. We give birth to projects, movements, or creative works. David describes poetic justice. They dig a deep pit to trap others, then fall into it themselves. This verse presents the principle that evil schemes often backfire on their creators. When you dig a pit, you create a trap designed to capture someone else. The irony is that the trap maker becomes the victim. In English, we have expressions like digging your own grave or setting a trap for yourself that capture this same principle. The boomerang effect continues. The trouble they make for others backfires on them. The violence they plan falls on their own heads. The word backfires comes from engines that explode backward instead of forward. When something backfires, it hurts the person who started it instead of the intended target. The phrase "falls on their own heads" suggests that the consequences of their violence come back to hurt them directly. This teaches us that there's a moral law of cause and effect. Evil actions eventually return to harm those who commit them. David concludes with gratitude and worship. "I will thank the Lord because he is just. I will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High." The word "thank" expresses gratitude for benefits received. David is confident that God will vindicate him. The phrase "because he is just" explains the reason for gratitude, not just because God helps David, but because God's character guarantees fair treatment. When someone is just, they always do what's right and fair. The promise to sing praise indicates public worship. David won't keep his gratitude private, but will publicly celebrate God's justice. This ending shows us the ultimate confidence that comes from knowing you're innocent, and that absolute justice will eventually prevail. David began this psalm running for his life from false accusers, but he ends with complete assurance that truth will triumph, and that those who try to destroy innocent people will ultimately destroy themselves.